George Pickens combine. What does it mean? This guy was an absolute freak as a freshman at UGA. He got a bit of a downturn in his sophomore season and has been injured for most of his junior season with an ACL. He came back at the end of the season, was able to contribute some in the playoff on Georgia's route to a national title. He then declared after his junior season as an early declare into the NFL draft. He went to the combine supposedly healed up. He'd been playing, he had been cleared for contact with his ACL in the rearview mirror. The big question was he going to show some of that athleticism and burst we had hoped for when he was bursting onto the scene as a true freshman? Starting with his weight, he came in at 6'3", 195 pounds. Really not too bad, although personally, I would like to see a guy that tall come in over 200 pounds. BMI purposes, I think he was low-ish in the 25 range. Depending on if you're a BMI believer or not, you would generally like to see over a BMI of 26. So certainly not kicking him out of the ranks of the elite prospects, but not exactly what you'd like to see from a height weight standpoint. The big news is, of course, he did run a blazing 40-yard dash at 4.47 seconds. For a guy like Pickens, who many thought was not really, his strength was not long speed, he showed enough that would not be a concern any longer. I personally think coming in under 4.5, getting that sweet 4.4 something 40-yard dash will check a lot of boxes for some NFL teams. I think this gets him into certainly the day 2 conversation, but I think really the round 2 conversation, which, as we all know, in fantasy world, draft capital really trumps everything. So it was huge for him to come out and show some athleticism. He also had a 33-inch vertical jump, which was under average, so that wasn't ideal. But 125-inch broad jump, which was one standard deviation over the average. Average is about 120. He got 5 inches more, and that is a full standard deviation over the average broad jump. So showing athleticism there, showing the springiness, showing that ACL seems to be working pretty well. And I think that is going to alleviate a lot of concerns some NFL teams had. And like Austin from Campus Canton says, the only real concern with George Pickens is what is an NFL scout, NFL GM going to think of him? And will they draft him in the second round? If they do, we shouldn't really be worried. And they're going to invest the draft capital. They're going to invest the money into a guy like Pickens. We know he has that super elite ceiling. His highlights are some of the best that you're going to find in this class. When he can go up and get it with those, that 6'3" frame, he has that prototypical X wide receiver target monster profile. And so we are excited about that. I think if the combine gets him into the second round, we should all think of this as a big win. Now, the other thing that comes out of the combine, of course, is going to be medicals, which I didn't really, was not able to hear what that was said about him, although the testing looked good. And then, team meetings. Who are these guys meeting with? Can we get a clue as to the teams that might be interested in this guy? And there are 4 really exciting teams, in my opinion, that I could dig up that met with George Pickens. Green Bay Packers. With or without Aaron Rodgers, they certainly have a need at another one of those key wide receiver positions on that team behind Davante Adams, and Davante Adams may not even be there next year. So, he could walk into a lot of targets right away in a team like the Packers. The Jaguars, we know they need an alpha wide receiver. And Trevor Lawrence, I still believe in him. They got a new coaching staff, hopefully a new culture, and I think that would be, I would be fine with that in the second round. Chiefs, what else do you need to say? Jets, another team that, potentially up-and-coming QB, depending on what you think about Zach Wilson. But I think a place that he would pair really nicely with Elijah Moore, who's more of a slot and a guy you can move around and then pick and commands kind of that true outside boundary receiver. I think that would be really nice too. So those are 4 teams I think are all nice fits for a guy like Pickens. And I think the combine for him was a win in a lot of different ways, and the things that we're seeing coming out of it. So I'm a fan. I think he, it's just confirming athleticism, confirming that ACL looks good. He's going to be moving up my board a little bit too. And traditionally, I don't love the combine, but a guy like, in terms of changing things around, but a guy like Pickens, where there's some injury and some recovery questions, I think he did a lot to answer that. Stay with Campus to Canton. We're going to give some rapid reactions for the rest of the week. And, enjoy the offseason, and rookie drafts are going to come in around the corner. So get those cheat sheets ready.